there, my name's Amanda, and I own a small seamstress business called Handmade by Amanda. I started in 2008, roughly, making gifts for friends, and then it slowly became a business. Over the years, it's grown into things like monogramming and embroidery, but I'm a second-generation seamstress. I've learned most of these simple sewing tips and techniques from my mom. Thank you, Mom. And I'm good at visualizing the way things are made or taking apart something and making a pattern out of something original. So for me, looking at a better way to put together a GroVia elastic replacement was a pretty natural thing. I like the tutorial that is posted. It's helpful, but I feel like it sort of compromises the original design for the diaper. And even though that tutorial is really good for beginners, I feel like this type of repair is definitely achievable for a beginning sewer if you're patient, and if you get frustrated no matter what, put it down, walk away. But I feel like if I go through this slow enough, it'll be easy for even beginning all the way up to advanced sewers to go through this. So how about we get started, okay? Here are some used diaper shells that I've purchased over the past few months from GroVia Buy Sell Trade. This one had absolutely no elastic, and what I did was take a look at how the diaper is constructed and really think about that before I fixed the elastics, because I wanted it to still be able to function the same way. So here's a new, brand new cover so we can look at how the sides look in the beginning. So zoom in. Okay. As you'll notice, the top stitching comes down from the top. It juts over to the right at a 90-degree angle, and then it follows along the side of the elastic all the way down to just slightly before the tab. Again, juts back over at a 90-degree angle, and then this stitching follows along the tab. So if you take your fingers and feel, you can feel where the elastic stops, and please excuse my terrible nails. You can feel where the elastic stops. It's right above where this 90-degree angle is. Same with here, right above where the 90-degree angle is. And, you know, same's true for both sides. It's same design on both sides. So what they've done is make what's called a casing for the elastic. So there is no stitching going through the elastic whatsoever along the inner side. And then when it juts back over to a 90-degree angle, it does go over to the elastic in that area, but you've already sewn, or they've already sewn, the elastic inside of it. So we're really just making a pretty top stitch here. This stitch is not what's really holding the elastic in, if that makes sense. Okay, now that we've seen how a new diaper looks, take a look at some older diapers that have been repaired but haven't really followed that same guideline as the original pattern and have stitched elsewhere, which isn't bad, but it just restricts the elastic from being able to fully function. Let me show you what I mean. Let's compare these two, which have repaired elastics. Someone worked hard and they did a good job getting the elastic in there, and it feels like it's flat. And they did to the best of their ability. So bravo. Awesome. Here is the original. And you can see the difference. There is an exterior seam here and here. And you can pretty much notice off the bat, let me line all three of these up right in the same section, what's different about the elastic in this area and this area. It's not being allowed to stretch through the casing area because it's been tacked down by these stitches. So because of that, these two are likely going to leak in those areas because the original design wasn't intended for it to do that. So this is what we're going to do. So we want to open up the top seam of your diaper. And in order to do that, let me take you over here and show you what you're going to need. You're going to need a seam ripper, a large safety pin for the elastic, elastic that's 1/8 of an inch will work fine. You can use slightly larger elastic. You're also going to need to match up the best of your abilities. A purple, for this one, a purple color that would work. I would say this is pretty close. So this will be my top thread, and then I need a bottom thread, which for me, I already had that loaded. It's white. Now this is off-white, but when it's all said and done, you really don't have to have off-white if you don't have it. As you can see, it looks like they may have used a white, well, it looks off-white. Off-white white as well, and that'll work out just fine. Okay, it's time to remove the thread on the top portion of the GroVia diaper shell. I like to start at the third snap and work my way in and go all the way over to the third snap on the other side. So just start with your seam ripper and start removing thread. Just get your seam ripper underneath every other loop or so and remove those threads on the front side. And be gentle, you don't want to poke a hole in the fabric, just getting just under the thread. And also take off a few on the back side. Let's see. That. And they slowly start to loosen up after you take some off the back as well. Okay, I'm going to put it on pause and keep working on this, and I'll show you when I get a little further along. Now that you've got the top open, go to whichever side you're replacing. For me, I've replaced this side, and this is the side that I'm going to replace next. Go to the top, find that 90-degree angle that we were talking about before. Let me get this to, there we go. Which is right here. And I want you to remove the stitches. Leave these alone. Don't touch these. Remove these few, and then a few further down, maybe to about right here. Just so we can peek inside this pocket area, but we're not disturbing the construction of the tab up here. We're going to come back in later and sew this back. But this will allow us access to this area inside that has the elastic sewn into that area. Okay? So let's turn this inside out. Put our hand through here. Grab, I guess, a tiny handful of the mesh. Kind of shake it, see if you can try to get it through. And then I'm going to put the camera down now, but you get the idea. So pull it through. Top of this diaper open. I flipped it to inspect the pull, and it looks like it has excellent condition pull. So I'm going to continue on with the elastic replacement. All right, so this has been turned inside out, and we find the area that we were focused on taking those stitches out in that 90-degree angle. And then guess what we find here, if I can get this to focus. Voila! There is the infamous elastic. So I'm going to go get my 8-year-old daughter to help me hold the camera so we can finish this. Here's my lovely assistant, and I'm going to pass off the camera to her. Hi there. Okay, we're back. All right, come on in. Let's zoom in to this elastic area. So this is what we were looking for, this elastic here. So we're gonna, okay, let's back up a little bit. Maybe like right there. Okay, sorry, giving some pointers to my assistant. We're gonna pull that elastic up a little bit so we can be able to work with it. We're pulling out this elastic. So there's a few tack down stitches where the elastic was originally tacked. We are going to remove those stitches right now and take those out. So those should come out with just a little bit of removal. Okay, so we've removed those few stitches, which leaves us with the end of the elastic. Let's take our large safety pin and put it through this area. All right, so we've cut 5-inch strip of elastic, and we're going to attach to our safety pin. So let's undo our safety pin. We're going to overlap it and put the safety pin through both pieces of elastic. Maybe do it a couple of times to make sure it's got it good and grabbed. So, whoops. Well, I'm not doing this very good, am I? There, that's what I was trying to do. Fold that over. All right? All right. All right. Now that we've got it like we wanted, it's going to hold together right there, and it's not going to go anywhere. Then we're going to take the end that's loose, and we are going to use one of our safety pins, or if you have an extra smaller baby safety pin, you can use that as well, or a straight pin, whatever your preference is. And then when we tack this, let's be sure that when we're tacking it, we're tacking in the outside seam here. We don't want to tack accidentally anywhere in the inside to make a hole in the inside, which would make a leak. We want to make sure that it's in the outside seam area that's not part of the interior of the diaper. You're doing good. My assistant was asking how she was doing. Okay, so take the smaller safety pin, choose a spot that's exterior, and close it up. All right, so we've got that side done. Pull through. Okay, see how it went through? Go over to the other side here. There's our elastic. All right, now when we pull through, we want to try and pull it slowly through to keep it straight so it doesn't twist. So here we are. If you could zoom in a little bit here in this area at our old elastic, and we're pulling. Here we go, pulling it through. You might have to kind of nudge casing along. Okay, so I've pulled this all the way through, And now that I've done it with a larger safety pin, it probably would have worked a little bit better with a smaller one. It would have moved a little bit faster. But the large one works great too. Okay, so we've got our new elastic in that casing. Okay, and you'll find that when you stretch it like this, you can feel whether or not it's twisted on you. Okay, and I don't think it has. So we're good. All right, so we're going to come to the end here. And then this is the part that you don't want to twist. So pay attention to how it's coming out. Feel with your hands if you're not exactly sure. All right, and we are going to undo this, but be careful to not let it go back into the casing. Okay, so I'm undoing it, letting the old elastic hang down, and I'm going to pin this back on for safety so this doesn't fall back inside the casing. Okay, I'm going to try to finish this on my own without my 8-year-old helper. I think she got bored quickly. All right, so now we have our old elastic that you can see it's curled on us. You know, it's definitely seen its better days. And we need to tack down this piece in the area where the old elastic was. There we are. All right, we're going to remove the stitches on the old elastic, these white stitches here. And then we are going to pin the end of our new elastic. Okay, so I've undone the safety pin, pulled a little extra out, and I'm going to pin up above where the old elastic was before. And you'll notice that I left just a little bit of the old elastic. A few stitches were particularly pesky and I was getting impatient, and I'm just going to leave them there. I'm not going to remove that last tiny bit. It won't be bulky, it'll be fine. So I'm going to run the tip of this pin through the outside seam right here above where the old elastic was. Okay, by doing this, I can now take the safety pin, turn it sideways, and voila! It makes the elastic fall right where we want it to. Okay? So we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and put this underneath, being careful to not let the needle hit our safety pin. We are going to sew down the elastic to this area. Okay, so we've still got our safety pin attached to the end of the elastic. And then we've used an alligator clip just to double check and hold on to it. Okay, let's back it up a little bit. Okay, right there. Thank you. All right. Another thing I find helpful when sewing the elastic is I use this tearaway stabilizer. Since I do embroidery, I have this on hand, so it's something that I can easily tear off a little square. Now, if you don't have something like this around, some very thin newspaper or thin magazine paper would be helpful too. The reason I'm doing this is to keep it from going down into the feet area and getting caught, because that very often happens when you're sewing stretchy items and they're not moving correctly along the feet. Just to go over a few things, just in case some of you are beginning sewers. Since we're sewing with elastic, we want to be sure that we are using the right kind of needle. The right kind of needle is just like the right kind of tires on a car. If you don't have the right needle, you're not going to get the right effect. So what you're looking for when you go to the store, you need something that's a stretch needle. Here are two options that fit on my machine. This brand fits on this Brother machine, which is a pretty popular machine. It is the CS 6000. And I kind of alternate between these two, but I'd say for something like the diapers, the plain stretch needle is probably the best. Now this is a 9014. It's a little on the large size. When I say large, I'm talking about these numbers down at the bottom, the 90-14. I would rather probably go with more like an 80/12, but this is what I have, so this is what I'm going to use. But just when you're in the store, just be mindful of that there are different numbers. The larger the number is, the thicker and more heavy duty your needle is. And also that's the bigger the hole it'll make with the needle. So I'm selecting a straight stitch for everything that I'm going to be working on with this diaper. I prefer the needle to be aligned in the center of the foot, not over to the left like 00. So that's my selection. I want 01. So there's 01, not 01. And then I'm just going to leave the other settings alone. I'm not going to change the stitch length or width. It's fine at its defaults. And I've already lowered the presser foot, and then I came over here and grabbed my wheel, and then I turned it towards me about 3 or 4 times. And what it's doing is it's slowly grabbing the elastic, and it's kind of securing it for me before I get started pressing the, before I get started going sewing, sorry. Okay, so here we go. We are ready to go. And all we're going to do is we're going to stitch forward about 2 or 3 more stitches. And remember, I'm making sure to keep this safety pin out of the needle area. And then after I go those 2 or 3 stitches, I'm going to press back and stitch back 2 or 3 stitches until I get to the other side, go back and forth. Do that probably about 4 times. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to pull on this left side to flatten it out. Make sure there's nothing underneath where it's not supposed to be. And then slowly start stitching. Ready to go back, press my back button, come forward, back. It looks like I'm starting to stitch off a little bit, so I'm going to lift the presser foot, rotate just a smidge. All right, forward, back, back, forward. Okay, it looks good to me. Lift the presser foot. Okay, my machine stops with the needle down, so I have to rotate it up. Pull it out. All right, and then this is where we're gonna just gently tear away. Now, if you used a piece of paper or magazine, then you may have to just tear it with your fingers. That way it's not tearing on your stitches. All right, you can now undo the safety pin. Set that aside for later. And you can take your scissors. Take your scissors and clip away the extra threads. Okay, check and be sure that it did in fact grab. Yes, all right. Then we can stretch that out like that. So we see that we have got the new elastic sewn there. It's sewn pretty securely, so it's not going anywhere. I don't want this to cause any extra bulk, so I'm going to grab my scissors again and cut off this extra. And there's probably a little bit of this old elastic that I could kind of trim off too, the one that little bit that didn't want to come off earlier. Okay, and now stretch and let it go back inside that casing area. There's a few extra strings here. I'm just going to trim while I'm here. Okay, so we are good to go with that end. Let's go back to this end. Okay, just gently pull it out. And the easiest way to do that, let's get this back so we can see, is stretch the whole thing like this. And then grab down here and pull. Okay, and do the same thing like we did before, where we're rotating the pin, and when we do, it pulls the elastic up to the area that we want it to be in. Okay, so let's hold our finger there. Let's rotate that pin again. All right, and then make sure everything's flattened out. And then clip down lower. This is kind of my backup security, that it doesn't slip back down into the hole there. Okay? Okay, we're going to repeat the same technique that we just did and sew the elastic in this top area. All right, sorry if my hand is in the way. I'm going to try to get my hand out of the way, so I'm getting it back underneath the needle. Oops. First of all, let's grab my piece of stabilizer that helps me out here. Stick that underneath. And make sure this is nice and flat in the back. It is. So put that underneath. Okay, drop the presser foot. Okay, when I drop the presser foot, then I'll put the needle down. Don't forget to hold on to the end of your threads. Put the needle down. 1, 2, 3 times. And then I'll let go of my backup alligator clip, because then I know it's secure and it's safe to let the clip go. All right, just double checking that I've got it in the right spot. The needle is in the down position. I'm rotating it, lowering the presser foot, and here we go. Hold your strings. Sorry, I forget to tell people to do that. Hold your strings and let's go. Back up, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. And we're done. Okay, lift your presser foot, pull out, gently pull away this stabilizer. Take out our safety pin, and then I'm just going to use the side over here to cut these, and then we'll cut our strings. Okay, I've trimmed all the loose threads. I'm going to turn this inside out. Put my hand back through, grab the front, pull it through, and give yourself a little pat on the back, because you changed that elastic on that right side. Hooray! Okay, all we have left to do now is our top stitching, and we are done. The biggest thing to remember is you want to be sure that you are pulling as you sew, and you're stretching it and holding it flat. Why is that important? It's important because when you do that, it sends the elastic to the outside edge of the casing and prevents you from stitching on it when you're stitching down the old casing lines. Okay, there's a little extra thread I'm going to trim. I've got the correct color threads loaded in the machine already, so let's get going. Okay, my purple thread is on top, white thread is on the bottom. I am going to start by doing the 90-degree angle. So straight, stop there. Gonna lift my presser foot, rotate, and then this is the part where I have to be sure that I am stretching. And I'm gonna sew and overlap the area where we stopped before. And then I'm gonna back stitch and go back. All right, so here we go. Again, I like to start manually by rolling the wheel. Okay, pull my strings. It's not a race. We are looking for that point where we stopped. I think I'm there. I'm just lifting the foot to see. Nope, not there yet. One more. Okay, now I'm lifting the foot. I'm rotating. Don't start pulling until you release the presser foot, or else you'll pull and you'll break your needle. So release the presser foot. Now it's safe to pull. I'm right-handed, so I like to use my right hand to pull down here, and my left hand to pull back behind me. All right, got the back, pulling, and here we go. I'm following the line of the old seam for the casing. Okay, getting to where the seam is still there. So we're going to back stitch. A little tricky, you got to switch hands now. You're pulling on this, but you can't. And you got to put a thumb down here and a finger up there to keep pulling on both of them. So forward stitch, back stitch to lock in that stitch, and forward stitch again. All right, we have closed this up. All right, pull that up. Okay, I trimmed all my threads, and the bottom new seam is done, or paired seam is done. You want to take a look at that? That's how that looks. So it looks nice. I think you'd have to look hard to see. I guess, could have probably done a little better and not overlapped right there, but you get the idea. That's what we want to achieve. Okay? All right, let's go to our last seam on the casing. Again, we're going to go across the 90 degrees. Oops, sorry. Going to go across 90 degrees right there, and then come down. Here we go. Feel free to use the paper if you want to, you don't have to. Okay. Lower the presser foot. This is where you need to pull to be sure the elastic is on the outside edge. Here we go. Now in the area where there's a seam before, back stitch, and we are done. All right, let's trim. Okay, both sides are sewn up. This is our newly repaired elastics. Looks quite nice. Now we need to sew up our top. Let's trim any additional hanging threads that we see before we sew it up. Biggest thing to remember is we want to go slow and try to follow the original seam. I'm comfortable enough with just holding it as I go, but if you'd like to use a clip, like an alligator clip, and clip maybe in the middle, I would not recommend using a pin of any kind along this top seam. It will make a hole and it will cause it to leak because you're poking a hole through the PUL. So I would not, again, to reiterate that, do not use any sort of straight pin of any kind or safety pin. Alligator clip works fine. I also have some other pretty run-of-the-mill clothespins. You want to use that too. Okay? That's going to add a little weight to it if you add that, so just keep that in mind that it's going to be a little bulky. Alright, so remember the purple threads in the top, white threads on the bottom. Let's get it lined up. Let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing. All right, I'm going to line up back here to make sure that I'm going to get it lined up correctly. I am going to slowly lower the wheel, and it's a little off, so I'm going to pick the presser foot up and scoot it over, and then roll it forward a couple times. Looks like I've got it in the right spot. All right. Hold my strings. Sometimes I'll wrap them around my finger to make sure they don't slip and go back down underneath. Hold my finger, kind of where this is. I go forward a few stitches. Go back to lock in my stitches. All right, and now I'm going to go forward slowly. I'm going to take this off now. I don't need it now. I'm going to hold right where that was. I'm just going to let the machine pull it through. It's not a race. I'm not trying to do it fast. And really, truly, if you had the right needle, this should feel like there's no effort. It should go through very easily. If you had the wrong needle, you'd be struggling and it wouldn't be feeding correctly. So again, correct stretch needle is important. All right, let's keep going. All right, make sure it's staying aligned. Getting to the point to where my original seam was. I'm going to go slowly so I can align it and go right on top of where it was before. Getting it aligned. Back stitch to lock the seam. And guess what? You just replaced elastics on your GroVia shell. Let's compare it to an original. All right, here's a close-up of the seams. If you look really closely, you can see where it was that we stitched. But once it's on the baby, no one's gonna know. And the great part is this area is done correctly on both sides. And you're not going to have the incorrect kind of gathering that I was showing you before where the elastic wasn't able to stretch in that area. So really and truly, compared to a new shell and the old shell, using this technique, it is very hard to tell that the elastic has been replaced. So not only does it look better, but now your shell will hold a better resale value when it comes time to potty train. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave comments for the video. This is the first video of its kind, so please allow a little grace to me, and I hope that this was helpful. Thanks so much for watching.